So in 2015, you told the feds that it was your father that killed Meldish while you stood a few feet away.
No.
But then
While
later
I was
on,
back in the car. I was back in the car, and at that time, I was under the impression that my father had pulled the trigger because I didn't see any other people there. It wasn't until later on I realized I was in jail with Chris. I realized that my father didn't pull the trigger on that.
Okay, because then they're saying that later on you admitted that you made up that story, and now you claim that Crea Jr.
Never did that.
No?
I never admitted I made up anything because I would have been, if I ever told them I made something up, my whole case would have got thrown out. I would have got life. It doesn't work like that. If you make stuff up and lie to them, I never lied to these people because I was scared to death of now being a rat and still having to go do life in prison with a target on my back. That never happened.
Right, because at one point, this hit was being tied to Crea, and as he's going through his case, you're one of the principal witnesses in it, and for example, the defense attorney, claimed that you were a quote unquote stone cold junkie who routinely beat your wife in front of your children and also physically abusive to your mom.
Well, if you were a defense attorney, how would you paint me? As an upstanding citizen or all that bullshit?
There you have it.
Just like it's very similar. My whole life, we've known, you could tell Jerry Capisi anything. If you're a wise guy, he'll write it on, he'll put it in the newspaper for you. And that's what he does. So you hear all these things. It's being shaded from a crew I put away. I put them all away. The captain didn't handle his business the right way, and I put him in prison for it. So what do you think they're saying about me?
Right, because ultimately in August of 2020, Crea was sentenced to life in prison for murder.
Well, that was the father, but the son too. Why? First of all, the father said to his son, "You're not taking any plea agreements. Those are rap plea agreements because you got to allocute. We're all going to go to prison together." The son, when he wanted to get made, he went to his father, and his father made him, right? When he wanted to be a captain, his father made him a captain too, right? But then when his father said, now it's time to go to prison, he said, sorry, Dad, I'm not doing that with you, right? You could ask Daddy for whatever you want when times are good. But when Daddy said, let's go stand up like men together, he went, took a plea, took 13 years. I don't know many people that plea out to 13 years if they didn't do what the witness said. So obviously he was scared enough of what I had to say.
Yeah. And, like you mentioned earlier in the interview, you started wearing a wire.
Yeah.
And you wore a wire with your own father.
Yeah. I only wish I would have got half the stuff that I knew. But it's very nerve-wracking when you're in a situation like that. So I'm not asking questions to make people suspicious so I end up getting shot. I had to walk a certain line of getting what I can without getting myself killed in the process.
Right. And you also wore a wire on another high-ranking mafia guys, as well as the guys that were involved in the hit.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at wearing a wire and you see movies like Donnie Brasco that's set in the 70s, you have an actual wire and a tape recorder and whatever else. But when you're talking about later on during your era, what does a wire mean? Like, how do they wire you up?
I don't want to, give up their secrets, but ultimately what I'll tell you is it's about the size of a fingernail, right? And you could put it anywhere. They have ones that could go anywhere. I'm not going to give up their, and God forbid some guy who's wearing a wire today gets killed because of something I say on this interview, so I'm not going to say too much. They're not finding them. It's not going to happen.
Okay. So getting patted down or frisked just doesn't matter with the wires these days.
They go over you with a magnetron, magnometer. It's not going to beep. It's not like that.
Okay. So for example, like the glasses I'm wearing right now, you could stick a wire in that, a recording device, and then that's it.
I'm sure they could. I haven't seen any glasses with wires in them, but I'm sure they could.
I'm sure they could. Okay. Were you really nervous though? I guess they can't really find it, but still, you're recording somebody. You know that the feds are listening. As you're going through.
Here's the thing I was most worried about was a dirty Fed giving me up. That's what I was really worried about because we had dirty cops work for us my whole life. So, the guy that I mentioned earlier, that wanted me and Gene to do that hit for him. A cop in the organized crime task force basically told everyone that he was a rat, and it was in the newspaper. And then the Fed that I was working for told me, "Oh no, I know for a fact your uncle's a rat," because the organized crime task force officer told me he works for me.
Right. And at one point, the feds actually relocated you to Madison.
No, I relocated myself there. I moved down there. I had friends that were living down there. I heard that they had only 2 strip clubs in the whole state. I went down there and tried to buy into a piece of a strip club there. I ended up working for some people there at some strip clubs, building the rapport to see if they trusted me to work for them to buy in. Before that happened, I got pinched for selling drugs. They didn't relocate me there. I didn't work for them there. I went down there, started trying to build a new life. At that point, I had already told them. That's when I had called them and said, "Hey, I have information on the Meldish murder. Can you help me with this DEA case that my father's trying to get me on, and the ACS case with my kids?" They told me, "Sorry, we don't do things like that. We can't just squash cases for you," which is the truth. They don't squash cases for you. That's when I threw that telephone away, never called them again, moved down there, took some of the money I had, started earning more money selling drugs, and was trying to buy a strip club down there to just start my own life without ratting on everybody. But ultimately, I got pinched there.